So, part two to the whole ordeal with the drugs getting here. Sheesh, where do you begin? There's the simplest way to put it is there are multiple tiers of government we know nothing about. There's a lot of stuff we do know, but if you go through history and you go through old kingpin documentaries, and you got to watch a bunch of them, and if you piece them together and then you watch old news stuff and this and that, you can piece together how legitimate, at least one time I found, legitimately the CIA was letting someone work for them intentionally, and that someone was doing stuff behind their back, but in reality, they knew what was going on. My belief would be that they set everything up to happen that way. History's history. Documents are documents. I don't want to get too specific right now until I can pull up and actually show the videos, if I am even allowed to. If not, at the very least, pull up pictures to explain what I'm talking about. But the shortest version of it is there's a lot in our government that we know nothing about. This whole thing is like a setup. It's like we know how people operate, and we've known how people operate for years. For example, this never made sense to me. So you get sent to prison, right? Then you got to come home, and the corny version of that is you're paying your debt to society, minus the part where even though the offenses you committed had nothing to do with a firearm, you're never allowed to own a firearm. You're never going to be allowed to take your kids hunting. You're never allowed to teach them to shoot guns. On top of that, you have this criminal history that haunts you and really puts you in a position that's going to make or break you. Break you meaning put you in a position that's going to send you back. It's super common. I did it over and over and over and over, and I just wasn't getting it. Uh, when you get locked up, they don't. There are other countries that have successful programs where they legalize drugs and the violence is next to nothing. They offer programs that literally help people. The programs and the prison systems, the state prison systems, at least in Wisconsin, are the corniest, cheapest options that they could possibly come up with. Most of the time, the best help comes from people volunteering to come in and help people with whatever it is: anger management, drugs or alcohol, violence, whatever. The programs they offer pretty not helpful at all. They should be making you spend that time, get a degree, use an option that is 100 if not 90% going to help you succeed when you get out. I can say now the federal system had decent options. They're dwindling since I was there. I heard it used to be sweet, and they had a bunch of these programs. There was even an inmate that started a frickin' I don't know what you'd call it. It's like a tutorial to success, and I guess he sold it to the feds or he did it as volunteer work. I don't really know. I can't remember his name. He's an old dude with gray hair. You'd watch these videos of this dude and you'd get some time off your sentence. However, they would let you go work for the tree service if you work down to a smaller prison. You could get into doing auto body work, and you would leave with a certification, which means you could go to an auto body shop and you're already certified to do what they're doing. I want to say they might have had a welding program, but you got to remember all these programs are always jammed up. So you're talking three quarters, if not more, of the people in there don't have an option to do something good. Like I tried signing up for college when I was in there, and I'm like, well, I'll spend this time and get all my bullshit college classes out of the way, or get as many of them out of the way as I could while I was in there. And because it was being sent from an outside college in, they screwed it up. Needless to say, I never even got to do it. I never wound up getting any of the homework to get started at all. So that kind of screwed me out of that. But getting back on track, so they put you in these situations where you're the guy that took the easy route. Oh, this is easy money. I need to survive. I don't want to do like hurt the community I'm in, but I need to survive. What do I do? Well, I picked the option. I'm gonna give people stuff that they're not allowed to have, but they want. And that option obviously put me not in a good spot, and it led me to like think about this, like, why is this designed the way it is? Like the technology we have today, and there is no route to how drugs are getting in here. Let's quit with the BS. Let's quit acting like we don't know. Yeah, some gets snuck in, but I firmly believe there are these higher powers that are letting it slide in. Look in to American Made. I think that's what it's called, with Tom Cruise. And if you watch a lot of other documentaries around that same time period, watch other drug kingpins, if you pay attention to all the details in that, you can see how it all interlinks, and there were government officials legitimately letting that stuff come in. The American Made is the closest one I can show without naming off like a bunch of things to really piece the whole thing together. That one was a good one, and watch a few other ones, and that's the quickest way to piece it together. Like, and I thought it was BS until it took me about 3 years to actually piece that whole thing together. Yeah, it's getting here somehow. There's, for example, on my case, right? How do you let people sell something that they know the type of people and what they were capable of doing, right? So how do they let that happen? One person passes away, nothing happens. They just keep watching. Another person passes away, no one gets arrested. They just sit back and keep watching. 5 people later, they sit back and keep watching. So the whole time, in reality, the FBI knew what was going on. They sat there because they didn't quite achieve the goal they wanted in catching who they wanted to catch. Well, how important is that goal compared to those 5 people's lives? Because then when the news spit it out there, it turned into like throwing it on the people that at that time we didn't really realize what could possibly, like, we knew, but we didn't believe it would happen. Where the people that were the FBI knew exactly what these outcomes would be. And after the first one going, cut you some slack, okay? The second one, now it's getting weird. The third one, super weird. The fourth one, and now you're going to sit here and point the finger. If you would have, and I'm talking in my case specifically, if you would have stopped this years earlier, those other people would have still been here. I have so many stories of my interactions and dealings with certain government issues in my life. They, it's like a movie. The image in my experience with this stuff is it's portrayed as one thing when the reality is it's a whole nother. There's so much stuff going on again you don't know. Just like I explained to you, the news portrayed it like, oh, look at these animals sold this to these people and they passed, and God, forgive those people and the things that came out of that. But who's to really blame? The person that didn't really think it was going to happen, or the people that were watching those people that knew it was going to happen? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm not saying that those people, weren't wrong. They shouldn't have done what they did. But what I'm saying is this is like parents watching children, right? And then your kid goes, that, well, say for example, every time he has a stick, he hits something. You watch him, he just picked up a stick and there's another kid there. He's not trying to hurt the kid. He's not thinking about it. So what's he going to do? He's going to do what he's been doing. Same aspect, same idea with this. They didn't really know. They are to be accountable for their actions, absolutely. But who else is to be accountable for their actions in that whole ordeal? You were overseeing the whole thing going on, and you took zero responsibility? That's not really fair. The point of this is not to think too much into it. Simplify the whole thing. Look at it in the simplest form as you can. The police and the legal stuff, they look to be this way. In reality, there's a lot of dirty stuff going on behind the scenes. And that's less important than the stuff that goes on that we have no clue what's going on. We have no idea. There are tiers in our government, similar to the military, and there are quite a few tiers of government you know nothing about. I know nothing about. And if I'm wrong, tell me what you know about what the CIA does. What do they need money for? What are they doing? What's going on? And I'm just saying, these are things to think about. Now add that into why certain like violence in Chicago is going on. Look at how massive drug kingpins exist in America. It's not because they're super, super smart. However, a lot of them are. The point is, the illegal activity that will take place off of a drug kingpin living in the United States is going to generate millions, probably hundreds of millions of dollars off of illegal stuff that people that are going to take those drugs will say a ton. Imagine how many people are going to get caught. Now rewind the scenario from the first video. It kind of makes sense, right? They make way more money off of you doing something illegal to support this country. Then when you get locked up, the prison or jail, wherever you go, gets paid for you to be there. There are billions of dollars made off of illegal drugs and off of violence, off of setting this half-ass programming up in these systems that don't help people get better. That just reassures that they're going to come back and they're going to make more money the next time you get arrested. So you made them $1 million the first arrest, then you made them money while you were locked up. Then they taught you nothing, surrounded you by a bunch of people that aren't going to do any better. And odds are you're going to befriend those people. You're going to fall back into bad ways of operating. And what are you going to do when you get out? You're going to try to do the right thing for a little bit because you don't want to go back. And it's going to get hard. And then you're going to remember, oh, I got old boy's number that I was locked up with. I need to get some money. Next thing you know, you're falling right back into it. Once again, giving them an easy another $1 million off of just arresting you. And going through the court process, they make more money off of you being locked up than you being free because you don't pay taxes and you won't get a good paying job. It's a setup.